Hi and welcome to day 8 of Figuary. The idea is that you watch the daily guidance video here at Love Life Drawing and then go to the Croquis Cafe channel and do their daily practice session. So we're going to be looking at values this week, the light and the dark, the shading in the pose. But before we get to that, today I wanted to cover something that we didn't get to last week. Last week, a lot of what we looked at works really well when you can see the torso fairly clearly, especially in sort of upright poses. What about poses like this when you might not see the usual angles and curves created by the rib cage in relation to the pelvis? Or when the weight is all over the place because the model's lying down? The things we've talked about during week 1, the lines to look for in the torso and all that, they're there to help and they're not rules. So if they're not useful or if you can't see some of them, there's no point in using them. The general principle remains though. Look for the interesting and important big shape or curve or pattern. So on this pose you might notice this straight line going down the middle. Here Maiko's demonstrating 2 approaches she might use if she had a short time to draw this pose. This pose with this camera angle, it's a figure viewed from an angle that we're less used to. So when you don't have much time, it can be overwhelming to try and figure out what you're looking at. Just before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We're constantly coming up with really useful and clear guidance about life drawing, and the Croquis Cafe channel puts out fantastic resources every week too. Also, let us know how Figuary is going for you in the comments and use the hashtag Figuary on Instagram. So in this example, she's focused on geometric shapes that stand out to her in the pose. And that's a nice place to start because she isn't worried about understanding everything she's seeing in the figure from this angle that she's not used to. Instead, she's focused more on the abstract shapes. And then once those are in place, she has a sort of framework to make sense of things and build up the figure in. In this example, using the same pose, she's taking a different approach. This time she's looking at the curves of the figure like the rolling hills of a landscape. She looks for the flow of the curves and the lines. And again, with the short time, at first she wants to think less about the pose as a human figure and see it more in terms of these abstract flowing lines. And then once she's built up a light layer of lines this way, she can start to build the figure on top of that. So when the pose is confusing you for some reason, try to see it another way. Look for those abstract shapes, those flowing lines. These are great approaches when you're not really sure what you're looking at. I hope you enjoy your practice session and I'll see you guys here tomorrow.